It's not enough to not be racist, okay? So if you're out there thinking that, hey, I'm not a racist, I'm a good person, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. You can't just be not racist, you have to be anti-racist. But being anti-racist means a whole lot more than just being not racist. Being anti-racist is like a self-deprecating joke. The joke is all about you, and in this case, it's about white people and how bad they are. Just awful, awful people. Being anti-racist is realizing that you are the problem. The entire problem. All of the problems in the world. They're your fault. It doesn't matter if you're a lovely person. It doesn't matter if you married someone with a different skin tone to you. If you're white, you're the problem. You need to realize that if you have white skin, everything that you have, that you see, that you get, that you've experienced, it all happened because you're a white, privileged, horrible individual who's inherently racist, and you can't change that even if you're not racist. Understand that your ancestors were monsters, and that by default means that you're a monster. All right? You're a monster. And unless you realize all that and accept all that, you're not anti-racist. And I should also point out, if you're not anti-racist, then you are racist. The anti-racist movement is, I'm sorry to say this, the cuck chair of intersectionality. It is minorities of minorities. The 0.01% of people who sit there and want to blame everything that is wrong in their life on people whose ancestors did horrible things. And obviously being racist is horrible. No one wants to be a racist person, and no one should be a racist person. Don't do it, dickheads. But the opposite to that is not being anti-racist. It's not that at all. And I should also point out, there are a lot of white people who claim to be anti-racist. They think of themselves as this white savior, the supermen and women and Z's and Zers of the woke world, ready to fall on their own sword to save someone's delicate sensibilities. How about fuck off? In Australia, there's one political party, the Greens, who are very, very far left and painful and no one takes them seriously, who really want to make it law where you have to train people in anti-racism. This is from their website. There is currently no mandated anti-racism training required for federal members of parliament, government employees, and Commonwealth employees. So politicians and people who work for the government, they aren't currently mandated by law to go through anti-racism training. They believe that this training will challenge white people and white fragility and reveal ingrained prejudices. Again, white people bad. That's what you need to learn here. Anti-racism is code for white people bad. This is what they want to do. They want to mandate anti-racism training. They want to unpack white privilege, which I don't think is as bad as some people make it out, but I do think it's probably real because we all have different privileges. If you've got 2 legs, that's a privilege. If you aren't disease-ridden, that's a privilege. If your children are healthy, that's a privilege. All these different types of privileges, right? It's about where you're born, who your parents are, lots of different types of privileges. And to just say that your skin color is the overarching privilege in your entire life is ridiculous, okay? You can achieve anything if you just fucking do it. You can be in any job if you just fucking do it. Don't sit there and blame the color of your skin for your entire life. It is not going to get you anywhere, but I'm on a tangent. We must listen to the rest of the Greens. But also I should say, if you don't know what white fragility is white people talking about how bad white people are and being comfortable with talking about how bad white people are. That's what white fragility is. Doesn't it sound like fun? There are so many problems in our society, but blaming everything on racism is not helpful. It doesn't achieve anything. They also want to urge members of parliament and government employees to commit to personal and professional practices that discourage hate speech, challenge racism, and improve the engagement from the government with service delivery, helping out First Nations people and people of colour. A lot of that is not terrible, but I want to take issue with one of the things that they said there. They said they want to discourage hate speech. And by discouraging hate speech, they mean demanding by law that people speak in a certain way. Hate speech isn't nice, but what people define as hate speech is so wide, there is such a spectrum that it borderlines ridiculous in certain points. This is exactly the same that when there is a Palestine rally and people are demanding with threats of violence or anger, and this happens all the time, look at this video from Danny Mullen, that people chant Free Palestine. Even if they don't believe it, you're demanding that they chant it. How is that helpful? You should say things because you believe them, not because you're scared of violence or losing your job or getting in trouble. We must be very, very careful with these type of politicians. Making things like hate speech a focus is a problem because you can't define it. Being anti-Palestinian or being pro-Israeli is considered hate speech in many circles. And not too long ago, being anti-Jew was also hate speech. But now, is it? I don't know. Hate speech laws are dangerous for everyone, particularly comedians. I've been accused of hate speech because of the people that I make jokes about. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous, but this is a worry. I could go to jail in Scotland with some of the shit that I say. Like, the hate speech laws there are crazy. This is also from the Greens website about hate speech. There is currently no criminal prohibition of hate speech at a federal level. Now, here's what the Greens plan to do. Adding hate speech to the criminal code of conduct, which is ridiculous. As I said, the spectrum of what is hate speech is so wide, that is fucking terrifying. Establish a national database for tracking hate crimes. Okay, if you attack someone and hurt them because of the colour of their skin, that's a hate crime. If you make jokes about people's gender, not a hate crime. But is that defined by the Greens? No. Proactively remove online racism and hate speech and hold social media companies accountable. That means removing any joke that I've been cancelled for. Is that appropriate to remove a comedian's jokes because some people find them racist, or some people think it's hate speech, or some people think it's anti-LGBTQIA+? Do you remove the jokes about white people from my set? What about the jokes about my wife or about myself? Do we remove those jokes? I do a whole bit about my pregnant wife. Should we remove that because that's offensive to pregnant people? Where do you stop? Making anti-racism mandated by law is a terrible idea. Because firstly, you shouldn't make people feel guilty about things they have no control about, particularly when you're just making them feel guilty because of the colour of their skin. It's a little bit racist. And secondly, don't make everything about race. It doesn't help people. Because thirdly, no one wants that pity. Fuck off. And fourthly, maybe we should just grow gardens. Yeah, that's how we can defeat racism once and for all. The fuck am I talking about? Taxpayer funds PhD in how gardens can cultivate queer, anti-racist communities. Fair enough. And we may laugh about all of this, but here's why I made this video. I found an article that I thought was absolutely terrifying, and it really hit home as to what you can be called that can ruin your life just because you disagree with someone or challenge them on something. White Toronto school principal Richard Bill Kitso dies by suicide after he was accused of backing white supremacy for complaining about a black instructor during anti-racism training. If you remove the colours of the people there, it just says that a school principal was accused of white supremacy after he complained about an instructor, which I would imagine people who run schools would complain about people they don't agree with all the time. But no, because it's about race, it's a big deal. And what this proves is he, as the white person here, has dared to complain or question. And immediately he is hit with, well, you must be a white supremacist. That's the argument back. And he automatically loses because of that. I've seen lots of people who have been accused of white supremacy for ridiculous things, and it sounds like he was one of those people. And it becomes so hectic for him in his own life, so horrible, that he chose, rather than dealing with this shit, to end his own life. But maybe he said something horrible. Maybe he was a white supremacist. Maybe he said something so racist. Let's find out. Well, the anti-racist teacher, Ojo Thompson, allegedly said that Canada was more racist than America, and the principal disagreed. Okay, it sounds like he just disagrees. Is that white supremacy, or is that just someone going, nah, I don't think so. I think America's worse. Then the anti-racist teacher allegedly responded with something along the lines of, we are here to talk about anti-black racism, but you and your whiteness, which is a weird thing to say to someone, think you can tell me what's really going on for black people. Okay. The week after, Ojo apparently said that her interaction with the principal was a real-life example of someone supporting white supremacy, which leads to the principal taking time off work because of the ongoing harassment. He then gets put on medical leave. And then apparently, allegedly, the school wouldn't reinstate his contract. All because of this. And what happens? Kills himself. Ends it all. Lost his job, lost his livelihood, and lost his life. All because he disagreed with something that someone who's well-versed in anti-racism said? Could he not use critical thinking to say, hey, maybe Canada isn't as racist as America? And maybe it is. Maybe it's heaps worse, but that's not the point. The point here is that he just disagreed. Doesn't mean he's a white supremacist. If you are against racism but also against white people, then you are a part of the problem. You are a part of the wedge in society, and that is shit. That is just shithouse, mate. Fucking pull your head in, you idiot. You have been brainwashed into thinking that the world is against you. It's not. It doesn't give a fuck about you. This whole idea that it's white versus black is so outdated and ridiculous. If we just lived in our small communities, if we just enjoyed ourselves, like I think about the street that I live on, there's so many people of different skin colors and no one's fighting about race. We're all just living our life, walking down, hey, how you going? How are you? Dinner smells great, good on you. Well, that's what we say to the people of different colors. They walk past our house and go, wow, your air fryer's on again. Well done, whiteys. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we can't cook. But the fucking, we do other things well, like burn in the sun. Anti-racism is making this deep divide more impossible to overcome. To quote the words of a great Australian philosopher, Isaac Butterfield. That's me. This is my book. You should buy it. Betterman. It's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. Me dick stinks. Tout le revoir. Bye-bye.